to the December 2024 Executive Committee meeting. Our chair will not be with us this evening, so I will be chairing this meeting for us in her stead. And who do we have? And I welcome everyone who's online to our meeting. And let's have a roll call.
Julie Reyes. Sergio Villaverde.
Present.
Margaret Della. Joy Campbell-Privatere. Present. Lawrence Coulter.
Present.
Sylvia Alexander. Bob Bender.
Here.
David Gelman. Mary Ellen Gibbs.
Present.
Ed Green. Rashida Hilliard. Rabbi Bob Kaplan. Josh Land. Oscar Martinez. Charles Mordler. Daniel Rowan. Ramdat Singh.
Present.
Deborah Travis.
Present.
Martin Wolfhoff.
Present.
We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 present. We need 2 more for quorum.
Okay. So then we will table the approval of the Executive Committee minutes since we cannot approve them at this point. And we'll move to our chair's report. Our chair did leave some information. Our chair did leave some information for us. If I was going to just run down the email that she sent over, she wanted to pass some things along.
Okay. Okay, chairperson's report, resolution. Committee chairs. If you haven't selected a vice chair, please do so this month. Reminder, moving forward, let me get Sylvia. Sorry. I'm going to repeat that. Okay. Committee chairs. If you haven't selected a vice chair, please do so this month. Reminder, moving forward, committee meetings held at the board office with Zoom capabilities. The committee chair or member will be responsible to work the Zoom. Staff will likely not be in attendance. Land use and aging committees are the exception. If you do believe you need assistance with Zoom, please advise Sarah so you may be trained to use the Zoom. The board will continue to have the committees concerned draft criteria for their committee awards and will bring back to the board in January, February. Thank you, Marty, for you and your committee and working to set some guidelines for the board on this issue. Okay. The next executive committee meeting will be Wednesday, January 8th, which is in 2025.
Wow. Thank you very much.
We now have a quorum.
We now have quorum, so we have David and Sylvia are present.
Hi.
And Sylvia does have
ADA.
I thought it was QXR, but what?
Yeah, I knew there's some initials.
Why say?
C. Anyway, hi Sylvia.
You're muted. Hold on.
Wonderful.
He's not unmuted, but okay.
All right, we'll start while she figures it out. We're going to go back to number 3, the approval of the Executive Committee minutes of November 6, 2024.
Motion to approve. Second.
Okay. Has everyone had a chance to look at them and any discussion on the motion to approve?
I don't know who that is.
We hear you now, Sylvia.
Okay,
Okay, we're on number 3. We're approving the Executive Committee minutes from November 6, 2024.
okay, I approve.
Thank you. All right. So any abstentions? Any votes in the negative? Okay, the minutes are deemed unanimously approved. Thank you. Now we move on to number 5, resuming our agenda, our treasurer's report. Privateer?
All right, thank you. Good evening, everyone. This is the treasurer's report for December 2024. We have remaining $15,673 and other than personal services. If you look at 1.1, there were 4 expenditures last month. 1,000 for our wonderful intern, Jalen, that was for her October services. We paid out cleaning, Zoom, and parking for an event that our district manager attended. So we now have $15,673 left over. 1.2, there are no budget mods. 1.3, 0 in requested, 0 in encumbered. And 1.4, $2697 left for our rent and energy detail. And I should add, and Farah will give more details, we're asking OMB for $3,000 to cover Jalen for November, this month, and also January. So we should get an answer in a few days.
Thank you. Any question on the treasurer's report?
Hold on, I'm trying to share it. Is it being shared? Can you see it on the screen, Sylvia?
Yes, I see, I saw it on my email.
Oh, okay, but you're not seeing it on the.
You're
No,
not
I
seeing it
don't.
right now, Sylvia?
No, I don't.
Okay, hold on.
There it goes.
Okay, but where?
You have to hit share.
Yep.
That's not it. Here, hold on, sorry, give me 2 seconds. And see if I can do it now. No, okay. All right, but you have a copy of it, great.
Yes, I do.
You could do it. Mario. You got the consent. Okay. Sylvia, do you have any questions on the treasurer's report?
No, I don't.
Thank you. Sylvia, I know you're participating virtually, so if at any time, we go past you, just yell out, please, and we'll make sure we don't.
Will do.
Thank you. Okay, our district manager's report. Farah.
Good evening, everyone. I hope you all had a happy Thanksgiving. November was a great month for CB8 giveaway events. We want to thank the Bronx Botanical Gardens, who gave us 20 tickets to distribute for the Nightmare Before Christmas Light Path Trail on November 7th. And we had another fantastic Thanksgiving turkey giveaway event on Monday, November 25th, with turkeys generously donated by the Stag Group. We distributed 250 turkeys to residents and the following organizations in our district: Marble Hill Houses, Ford Independence Houses, St. Stephen's Church, Carolina Baptist Church, Riverdale Neighborhood House, the 50th Precinct, and CRE 9. A big thank you to our board volunteers, Bob Bender, Julie Reyes, and Oscar Martinez, who brought 6 Kennedy High School football team members to help deliver the turkeys. Also, a big thanks to Artie and Jalen, who helped all week and the day of the event to make sure everything went smoothly. I held my monthly district service cabinet meeting this morning, and my next meeting will be on January 7th. I will send those minutes to everyone tomorrow. Intech Academy invited board members to participate in their college march on December 6th from 9 to 12 p.m. I emailed the details to everyone today if you would like to join. Artie and I continue to work on more professional development opportunities. We went to a workshop held by the Department of Buildings for community boards and elected official staff to learn about navigating, I'll give you this one. I'm sorry.
We'll take care of it after your report. Go ahead, Farah.
Navigating the DOB Now site, as well as learn more about the regulations for LL 152 gas safety inspections and the new parapet inspection requirements for buildings with 3 or more families. I need to express our chairs to be sure to give us their agendas, minutes, resolutions within 10 days of your meeting. It's very hard for the staff and your committee members to plan around and to attend meetings when we don't have the agenda or minutes to send out. Lastly, I gave you all a draft of the January calendar. Please review it. Let me know in advance if you're having a meeting, if you need to switch your date. so that we can finalize that sooner than later. I really appreciate it. Also, Councilman Dinowitz is voting tomorrow for the City of Yes, housing opportunity. He did host a meeting to, give feedback on the modifications that they discussed, and would love any community feedback from that meeting. If you can reach out to him tonight, tomorrow morning, before the vote. He would love to hear from you all. And looking forward to our exec meeting in the new year, so thank you all.
Thank you, Farah. Any questions on the district manager's report, Mr. Gelman? And then Bob.
I'm curious, has anybody done this Intech College March? Know what it really entails?
Well, I sent you the details.
Yeah, no, I saw it, but
They
Has
gave a
anybody done
map.
it? Yeah.
I don't know if it's a new thing or random.
So I live right around the corner from Intech. So the idea is the local elementary school, a lot of the kids from those local elementary schools end up at 368 as a middle school, and then they continue for high school. So the idea is they would have, in the past, would have dropped off their applications in the mailbox, and then walk around in front of each of the elementary schools, as like a circle of like, we're completing our K through 12 education as like symbolic, and, you know, the elementary school students get excited, and then they just go back to Intech.
Do the marchers go into the elementary school and engage with them? Do the kids come out and
In the
engage
past,
with them?
there was the rising fifth graders would come out and cheer them on.
I see.
From 207, PS7, and I forget the other elementary school.
All right, that gives me a much better picture.
Mhm.
Thank you.
But I don't know if the structure of it is being changed this year, but usually in the past, that's how it was run.
Good, thank you.
Thank you. Bob, you had a question on the DM report?
Yeah, not a question, a comment. Farah did not mention this, but, the day of the Thanksgiving turkey giveaway, the turkeys were supposed to arrive at 8:30 in the morning, and Farah got a phone call at home a little after 7, I believe,
Not after.
saying, "We're here at the board office
Oh, my God.
with 250 turkeys."
We're gonna leave them here.
right. And she dashed over here in time to, work everything out.
Wow.
Suckers, right?
Here. Thank you, Farah. I guess it proves the adage, the early bird.
Hopefully no worms.
Farah, anybody else, any questions on the DM? I have one. Anything noteworthy about, the cabinet meeting?
You'll get the minutes tomorrow. So it'll be very detailed, with everything we discussed. And, if you have any questions after getting them, you should always just reach out to me.
No major highlights, no major changes,
Well,
no
there's
major
so, I mean,
earth shaking?
Like 20 different reports from different agencies and follow-ups. I'm trying to think what sticks out in my mind. A big issue we've had is people have been asking when all those signs are gonna be put back, the parking regulation signs where they're doing the Henry Hudson Bridge work. Since the work is done, there's no more, you know, people wanna continue to park where they used to park, but the signs haven't been reinstalled. So DOT is working on that and trying to expedite it.
you mean the 232 overpass?
Not just 232, but from 235th all the way down, yes.
Yeah, but the 232 overpass,
But
not the Henry Hudson
continuing,
Bridge.
no, continuing with, to where the Henry Hudson Bridge project was as well. So all the signs are being put back. The bus signs have already been put back, so that was kind of a big issue that's being resolved. That was just one
The
thing.
buses are back on the service road.
So what, I'm
And
sorry?
the buses are now back
Yeah.
on the service road, not on the
All
independent.
right.
Correct.
All right, thank you, Farah. Yeah. We trust your judgment. If you say to highlight, it's a highlight. All righty. Committee reports, for those of you who weren't here, we will go around the room, and if you don't have a report, just give us your next meeting date, please. That will suffice. So, aging.
Hi, we had a great meeting here at the office. We had, a lawyer that spoke about wills, trusts, and elder law, and it was a lot lot of good information, a lot of good questions. Our next meeting is December 12th at Methodist Home at 4 o'clock. Anybody like to join us? Be there before.
Thank you. Thank you, Mandy. Dave Gelman, budget?
David, actually, I'd like this to be put in the minutes, make sure this goes in the minutes, Fair. It is December to remind all the chairs to get started. That is to say, if you think that one of your best ways to get going is to take last year's budget request and hand it out, don't wait till March, do it this month, and then start discussing it in January. And then in February, put it down, and March, vote on it, et cetera. But don't wait till March to start saying, oh yeah, why don't you guys go home and come back next month? So December is the time to formally put it in your agenda, and if you want to plan on discussing what you're going to do, when, and to, if you wish, distribute the 26 requests that that we agreed on in October.
March will be here before you know it. Thank you very much, Mr. Gelman.
Thank you.
All right, economic development, anybody,
He's running late, Oscar said. He's on a train that's running behind.
so we'll skip that for the moment. Education, libraries, cultural affairs, Sylvia.
Yes, unfortunately, I had to cancel 2 meetings because of things going on with me. But
Okay.
I have a scheduled meeting on the 11th, and I'm hoping that I can conduct that.
Thank you, Sylvia. Be better soon, please.
Thank you.
Environment, sanitation. Who's reporting for Dan?
Me. Okay, so, November meeting, we had, a speaker from the Bronx Borough Commissioner from DEP. She led a presentation on flood preparedness and mitigation, lead service line replacements. There were a number of constituent concerns, such as, stormwater, flooding, concern with, sinkholes, and lots of topics. And the link to these presentations will be in the minutes. So that's that. Our next meeting will be Wednesday, December 18th at the board office. And I just have a related announcement. What came up at the meeting was something called a unified stormwater rule, which passed in 2022. That developers hate because they're forced to control their stormwater, and there are changes being made to that. So I'm announcing for BCEQ that everyone would be invited, if they care about the status of the unified stormwater rule, on December 18th from 5 to 6. There'll be a Zoom meeting with the head of DEP of that whole division, explaining the issues they're facing and some of the changes. And it's become a big thing because City of Yes, there's been tons of pressure for DEP to change this. And that's what we're interested in and fear. So that's my report.
Thank you very much for that report. Okay. Questions?
Yeah, if I may interject, for everyone's information and your friends or whatever, I happen to be at Eric's office today. They've got a boatload of the countertop organics containers, that you can seal, and so you throw out your organics later. If you want one, you're welcome to go there and get some, or tell your friends and neighbors that they're around. They were very hard to find in preceding months, but they've got a whole bunch of them at his office.
Thank you, Mr. Gelman. Any other questions or comments? Yes.
I might as well interject that we have tons of leaf bags. So if anyone needs to dispose of leaves, we can give you a lot of bags here to dispose of them.
Pushing them on your neighbor's property is not disposing of them?
Not very neighborly.
Not very neighborly. Thank you. Any other questions or comments on the last report? Nope. Rabbi Bob Kaplan.
So, Health and Hospital had its meeting last week. We had a presentation from the Deputy Commissioner of Health and, Department of Health and Mental Health, on the mental health opportunities that they have developed over the past couple of years. One of them is, of course, the 998 number for suicide prevention. Other trainings that they're able to bring into the community, particularly for community-based leaders and faith-based leaders. And the committee is considering bringing in some of the trainings into the community for different leaders in the community to get mental health sort of boot camp type trainings. They are willing to come in and do other kinds of opportunities for us around mental health in the community. Our next committee meeting will not be, since it was last week, we had to push it off to later in the month because of just whatever it is, will not be December 11th, so we're going to skip that one and go to January 8th, which will probably be a joint committee with the Special Committee on Racism, helping to push forward our post-forum on hate and the impact, both physical and mental health, of the impacts of hate.
So if you're not
Hold on a second. Sorry.
Sorry.
Was that the end of your report?
That was the end of my report.
Thank you. Any questions or comments for the rabbi? Yes, Mr. Gellman.
So are you gonna remind your folks to start working on their budget items?
You have admonished us to do so, and we will do so.
Well, I've done so every year, but hasn't always helped.
Okay. You know? Thank you. God willing, as they say. You know?
And the creek don't rise.
All right. Any questions or comments? Thank you very much, Rabbi, for that thorough report. And housing, do we have anyone reporting for housing?
Rashida did send a statement if others couldn't be here to report. The Housing Committee met on Monday evening, November 25th, from 6 to 7:16 at the MMCC Cornerstone Community Center on Bailey Avenue. All committee members were in attendance. We had CB8 members, Artie Malzou, David Gelman, Mary Ellen Gibbs in attendance. Various members of the community present to hear from HPD's tenant engagement team regarding tenants' rights and responsibilities. Though the room was cool, we had a warm reception from all who were present. We plan to invite the team back in the near future. Our next housing meeting is on Monday, December 23rd at 6 p.m., most likely at the office. I do want to remind people that our next meeting is also at MMCC Cornerstone on Bailey Avenue. It was very cold, so dress accordingly. I did put it on the outreach on the agenda, but in case you didn't notice that, make sure you bring some extra layers. Yep.
Even biking there was cold.
Questions? Yes, Mr. Walpole.
Yeah, just for the record, please, our apologies from the Van Cortlandt group that met that same evening, and but I'm happy to note that there was no overlap. Their meeting ended before ours began. It was the only date we could find.
Okay. And that was a land use apology?
Well, that was a subcommittee apology.
Which leads us which segues nicely into land use, which will you be reporting, Mr. Walpole?
Apparently,
there you go. You already started.
Several issues just to bring to your attention. One concerns, actually, it's the same developer who is doing 3111 Henry Hudson Parkway, where they want to knock down, well, I haven't done anything yet, want to knock down a single house, nice looking house, and put up seven row houses. And we seem to be stumbling over, interestingly enough, trees. And so we've asked him, the developer, to tell us what his plans are, and we get answers that don't resolve the question. For example, there are now 3 beautiful trees on the sidewalk in front of that property. One of them, to be sure, is blocking his planned driveway. We want to know if he's making, and he is going to knock down those trees, what he plans to put in his place. He wants to put, I think it's 18 caliber trees are there now. He wants to put in a 3 caliber tree. Chuck is of the opinion, and nobody disagrees, that a 3 caliber tree at this day and age, between snow and salt and whatever, is probably not going to survive very long. And so we want a larger caliper tree. And now he says he has to talk to the forestry people before he decides. So there's a cause and effect. Unfortunately, or fortunately, he is also the developer. I say he because he was the one who was on the line on Monday. But he has a partner who was a she. He's also the developer for what is or is not taking place around Van Cortlandt Jewish Center. And the subcommittee has visited the site, spoken with the residents who have issued complaints. In fact, they came to 3 land use committee meetings over the course of the last year. And subcommittee was to go out and investigate. We did. There were 3 parties involved, very complicated. Party number 1 is a developer. Party number 2 are the residents of the area who want to make sure that the atmosphere of the area is maintained somehow, and are having difficulty communicating with the developer. And then Van Cortlandt Jewish Center, who is or is not selling and is not telling anyone what they're doing. So we're trying to bring the 3 sides together. We're not negotiating. There's a lot of internal problems at the center, and we're not involved in that and don't want to be involved in that. We'd like to assist in the outcome. Also on the agenda was 355 West 246th Street. Very interesting story in Fieldston. Seems it's a building that has not been inhabited for a period of time, and now they want to sell it, and have decided they want to make changes, and they went to the Landmarks Commission and got a permit to do minor changes. Well, with that permit, they've done major changes, and then they modified, including cutting down trees. They modified the application and said they want to replace a garage, which isn't there, but they're replacing it. And so a lot of stuff is going on back there. I drove by several times. There were no addresses on the houses, so I really couldn't tell which house it was, other than by looking down on the computer. That's where it is, but I can't figure out which house it is. Covered by trees, it's beautiful, and the damage they have done to the current house is not in keeping with the historic district, whatever Landmarks gave them. They have no permit to build, they have no permit to cut down trees, they have no permit to do anything other than those minor changes that the Landmarks have allowed them to do. Chuck was going to get, I don't know if he did or not, a stop work order. And I'm reminded that when Chuck was buildings commissioner, he forced a builder of a skyscraper who exceeded the height of the building that they were allowed to build, and Chuck got them to take down, I think, 3 or 4 floors after they had built it. So,
On East 96.
So when Chuck says he's gonna get a stop work order, I have no doubt he will make every effort to do that. So, and one other thing, which is something I do not fully understand. No, I understand the problem. I don't understand why it's a problem. On Island Avenue, there is also a house that has historic value, and they have decided to change the windows. And they submitted their plans, and it was approved. But the windows that they wanted to replace are not the windows they replaced. And so they now want permission from the community board up to whomever it's okay to leave those windows. And Chuck has asked, and we have asked, why can't you exchange the windows? If you got the wrong ones, it's the right ones. And they refuse to respond. So we refuse to approve. And that's where we are with that.
Thank you.
To follow up today, the Landmarks did approve the change, even though they had comments not to approve.
Okay. Does not surprise me at
Yeah.
all.
Ramdot, Mr. Kelman.
I just have a quick question. Is it the same developer that's buying the houses around Sedgwick Avenue and?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Do we know who that is?
We know, we've talked to him, and he's not talking to me now at all. He's ticked off at the moment because over trees, he's been asked to come back 3 months, tell us what he's doing about the trees. In 3 months, we get different answers. And so we tabled it again. I got him to, Chuck wanted to table it, period, and I asked him to amend the resolution to approve, conditional on them providing information about the trees before Tuesday's meeting. And then Chuck would come forward and say, we approve, you approve. But if there's nothing that comes from them, there's nothing for us to vote on, because we're withdrawing our tentative approval.
Thank you.
Let me add something.
Yeah, two things. One, the 355 West 246. Since you found it, where exactly is it? I'd like to go by.
A lot of trees, it's somewhere in there.
Is it east of the Parkway or west?
Oh, it's east of the Parkway.
Okay.
246 is a beautiful street, and there's a wall of trees, and hidden in those trees, and there's no numbers.
Okay, do you remember what streets it was between? All right, don't
I
worry
can
about
look it
All
up.
right, yeah, we can talk about that later.
It's in Fieldston. It's in Fieldston.
Well, yeah, but it's
Yeah.
3/4 of a mile wide. The other thing that's more important is Rosemary actually and I participated in Councilman Dinowitz's session with, I guess it was city planning, presenting City of Yes, and it went on for quite a while. And they said that a couple of things. One, that SNAD was not going to be part of City of Yes, which was good, but I saw something in the presentation that caught my eye, and that was about the ADUs, the accessory dwelling units. Or you could build an apartment in the backyard or whatever. And it said that, that when the application must be done by the current owner who lives there. What I asked then was, does the owner have to stay there? And their non-response was, well, if the owner sells, the tenant in the ADU doesn't have to leave, and that's natural real estate law. But the third go-around, when I tried to pin this down, and this is the part that disturbs me, if the original resident builds a house for grandma in the backyard or whatever, and then sells it to whomever doesn't have to live there, they could rent out the main house. So now you have the possibility of two tenancies on these properties, which I believe is the 21st century version of blockbusting. What will happen is that people will build a house or an apartment for grandma in the backyard, sell it, and then it will be investor-led ownership of the property, and you will have two tenancies on each of these properties. And that's the end of single-family homes.
That's certainly something, perhaps that's a good suggestion for part of a land use meeting, Marty.
Well, the problem is that, you're right.
Yeah, I'm saying that, yeah, because I never heard of this.
That the city council is voting on it tomorrow. And the anticipation is that they will vote for it, or as I understand it, even if they vote against it, under bizarre ULURP rules and whatnot, what would happen then is it actually would revert to the original City of Yes plan. And that's what would go through, which would strip away lots and lots of stuff. I think it's a very serious problem.
No,
And Chuck does too.
It is. I'm sure to be on an agenda, because it does sound like something. Yeah, I didn't know about it. Certainly, I think a lot of people.
I sent, Eric, at least 5 questions yesterday because the chat didn't work. I and many people were trying to send in questions having to do with ULURP, having to do with the millions.
I sent in the chat to Dana, who was the
Okay,
employee,
yeah.
and then I realized that's not going anywhere, so I sent it again to Eric, and that's when he asked my questions. I don't know why Dana didn't bring up.
Hold on a second, please continue.
Yeah, no, it's very frustrating.
Yeah.
And there is a way around what you just mentioned, that scenario where somebody has a resolution, presents, that it not revert back to the original type of thing. They're prepared for that. And, I announced this at land use, but assuming it passes tomorrow, City of Yes, there is a lawsuit, Article 78, in the works. It's coming from Queens. The case will be heard in Staten Island, and if this passes, there's a conduit, you know, for groups for monies and everything else, and it's a very serious lawsuit based on the environmental review issues, based on a whole bunch of things. So that's what I know right now.
Thank you for sharing that, Laura.
The leader of it is Paul Graziano, who came to this board.
He did a very good job.
Yes. He's one of the leaders, and they have lawyers in place, and, you know, it's moving, because I'm assuming it's gonna pass. And there's a lot of disastrous things. And not to say that there hasn't been some improvement from the original, but there's huge issues, problems.
Thank you. Marty, I do have a point.
Yeah, on this topic first, I mean,
Yeah. Anything else on this topic?
well, City of Yes, which we voted against, and hopefully, some of, well, ULURP, City Council got back ULURP because the Department of City Planning cut them out. So they took care of themselves to make sure they're in. So we have ULURP theoretically, we're gonna see what happens in fact. Also, they changed the travel zones.
Transit oriented, yeah.
So instead of being a mile, which included all of Fieldson, it's now a half a mile and doesn't include Fieldson. So Fieldson is safe, but half of Riverdale, North Riverdale, is not. The section that's closest to the river is right in that transit zone. And therefore, whatever could happen anywhere else in the city could happen in west part of Riverdale, which we're a half a mile, which could include us right here on this block. I didn't see the exact map. There were positive things done in the negotiation from the city council, but to be sure, city council was interested in their piece of the pie. We benefited from some of it, but they weren't interested in our piece of the pie. So, have to look at it, but I consider it a done deal.
Thank you. Yes, Bob.
Marty, my recollection is that the transit-oriented area was cut from a half mile to a quarter mile.
That's what Metro North.
Metro North goes. So that would mean, and also, SNAD remains intact. SNAD has not been changed. So, for example, you know, if you're talking about the Riverdale train station, nothing down there could change because that's all within SNAD. Now, you go down to Spine Dival, thank you, that's a different story.
I have a map. I took a picture of the slide, and it includes the western part of Riverdale. So I don't know how safe you think SNAD will protect them. I don't know.
Yeah.
Look at the orange blobs, as he called it.
It's in the presentation you forwarded today.
I was just gonna say, I sent everyone his presentation.
But I took a couple of weeks out here
Yes.
and watched that until the land use began, and I took pictures of some of their slides, which I have a couple of them here.
I just want to say that the as of right, one of my questions to Eric that I would have asked was to explain the areas and the as of right versus special permit versus where we used to have ULURP versus, you know, and we're going to have a ton of as of right. And while certain pockets are safe, I also said that's wonderful about SNAD or Fieldston, but Van Cortlandt Village and a whole bunch, all of the other neighborhoods in Community Board 8 are going to have reduced parking mandates. They're going to have, you know, they're not protected, and you know, it's a problem. So we'll see how Eric votes.
I get the impression he's gonna vote against it, but I'm not sure if it's enough.
You mean he chooses life?
Yeah, sort of. I don't know how much people will go against
Yeah, I don't know. We'll
the
see.
council president.
Well,
Mr. Council Speaker,
Yeah.
You mentioned Article 78. What is the significance of Article 78?
That's a lawsuit against the city determination.
yeah, it's
It's a lawsuit. Thank you.
it's lawsuit against a government entity
Yes.
under CPLR, Civil Practice Law Rules, Article 78, which is that's how you get the city to stop doing something or to do something.
I see. Thank you.
All right. So we're gonna wrap up on this topic.
Something you wanted to say?
Yes, but are you wrapped up on this topic? Because this is very, very important and it's worth, but, okay. The visitation site, I had a question. The development there, they've closed down all of the parking around there. Is that, maybe the office could look, see if that's within their permit, because they've closed down like 3 city blocks of parking and just wanted to make sure that was there. And the bridge is still continuing a DOT, the underpass at a snail's pace.
Which one? The one at?
The one at 254th Street, Broadway.
Yes. I
Yes.
think I sent you
Yes.
a response.
I think they're doing 1 screw a week. I just wanted that to be out there.
There's a quota.
Yes, exactly. And it's two guys doing it,
I
yes.
don't remember what it said, but I got a response from them. I asked about the timeline and the work, so.
They said we're working, yeah, I remember that response, as soon as we're done.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right, law, rules, and ethics.
I have 2 issues I'd like to discuss. The first one, I do not have all the details, and not even sure I want to have all the details. But apparently there was a violation of, I can't say protocol, but something happened at a committee meeting, I guess last week, that violates the open meetings law. And so to all the chairs, I just want to remind you that there are specific reasons that open meetings law allows us to go into executive session. And it must be one of those. And if it's something else, it's irrelevant. You can't have an executive session. So it needs to be, if anyone wants to know what they are, it's in the law. I can get the law for you, but they are very specific. When we go into executive session for real estate, or go into executive session because someone has, because you might bring up a health issue of someone that be very personal, ought not be publicized, that's in there. So, but it's very specific. More importantly, well, I shouldn't say more importantly, additionally, there is a protocol for how you go into executive session. As Bob well knows, I had a problem with OML, had a problem with COG a couple of years back when Bob was chair of the District Manager Search Committee, and I thought it totally reasonable that you could advertise that we're having a meeting of the search committee, or Bob's having a meeting of the search committee, and it's going to be an executive session, and therefore no one will be allowed in, either in person or via Zoom. And COG told me I was 3,000% wrong.
That's the Committee on Open Government.
Yes. You cannot do it that way. What you need to do is open a public meeting, which was done in this particular case, and then if there is a need, amend the agenda, vote to go into executive session if the item to be discussed, and you have to say what it is, meets the criteria under the open meetings law. So I know, as I've been advised, this is another example where Robert's rules and the open meetings law are in conflict, or the city charter are in conflict. You can't do that. So if anyone here wants to go into executive session right now because of some important issue that you don't think the public should be aware of, you can't do that.
Thank you, Marty. But perhaps that'd be good for the general board meeting to have some bullet points, so everyone hears it, so it's not just the chairs, and that is an important distinction, and I think we should always have a leaning towards transparency. So as you're having your meetings, it should be the rare exception, especially in the committee. in a committee setting where you go into executive session. We're not voting on personnel issues, we're not voting on salaries there, we're not voting on a lot of things for most committees, so that would be the rarest of occasions that happens. Thank you, Marty, appreciate that. Anything else, Marty, LRE?
My second issue of two, and I said there were two.
Yeah.
My second issue is the vote that took place at the community board meeting 3 weeks ago. I lost count. I have two concerns about that vote. The first one, please pass this around. The first one, I'm not suddenly having this problem because I sent this memorandum out to their executive board colleagues on January 3rd, 2016. And that is, I have a real problem when a resolution comes up and the winners of the resolution are the abstentions. There's no requirement. In fact, my memorandum begins with that. There is no requirement that you have to vote. It strikes me, and it has, that as a public figure, which we are now, by virtue of being on the community board, you have an obligation to vote, and you have an obligation to research. I've asked a number of people who abstained. They didn't know enough and didn't feel they should vote. Well, I think it's their obligation to find out. You have resolutions before your committees. I think it'll probably drive you crazy if you think it's a really important issue and people show up saying, oh, I can't vote, I abstain, and you end up with no vote. Not passing as important as you may think it is. So I want to just shake the trees that abstentions have meaning, and people ought to do their homework so that when they vote no, it's a no vote. If they vote yes, it's a yes vote. But if they abstain, they're abdicating their responsibility. And that's my concern on that half of my second item.
I'm sorry.
Yes, Laura.
Can you get a sense, because I don't have the list in
Hold
front
on a
of me.
second, Laura speaking.
You get a sense that it's more new members than old members who use the abstention?
Which is why I'm raising it now.
Right, I think they need to hear this, like, we're all old-timers here. But is it true, am I correct that it's more than new members? They can't make up their mind, they don't know what to do, they're new, so the easiest thing, abstain.
I plan to reissue this to the full board and raise it on Tuesday at the full board meeting. Again,
So
I
I'm
think
correct.
it's an abdication of responsibility.
I agree.
Well, and I think, thank you, Laura. I think we should, I'm sorry.
Oh, I was just gonna add that not so long ago, I was a new board member, and I remember being puzzled by what abstaining even meant. And why, because I would look and I would see other board members abstaining, particularly on contentious issues. And so I think it might even just be helpful to have some guidelines of when we think it's appropriate or professional as board members to abstain, in addition to abstaining for cause. I mean, conflict of interest is one thing, but there's a lot of folks, it's pretty common for folks to abstain for reasons that are puzzling when you're trying to learn the mores of the group. So I think it would be helpful to kind of be more transparent about when we think it would be appropriate.
We always get new members, we forget that.
And I'm going to, again, bring up next week, but I think as chairs, you'll probably have the same frustration I'm expressing now, that when abstentions win, you're really concerned about a Parks Department issue. It's got to take place now. There's a time factor, and you end up, the resolution failed because everybody abstained. Didn't do their homework and walked in cold and said, I don't know enough about this, I can't vote. I mean, that's it. Already said it.
Right.
Not a question, but more of a comment. I think it's more, from what I've seen personally, is more of a political move where some people may not want to be the deciding factor or vote against something that people feel strongly about, and they don't want to be seen publicly disagreeing, so they rather not ruffle feathers and not vote than to take a stand. That's what I really think it is.
But they don't realize that it is a no vote.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think they're making the connection.
I
I
think,
think you're absolutely right. They think they're, not,
I think that under, I'm sorry, I'm not following my own. I will let everyone else speak first. But I think, that people certainly need to know it's a no vote. That, and I think a lot of people do know it's a no vote. I think certainly people who've been around, more than a couple of years know it's a no vote. That unless you have sufficient affirmative votes, it doesn't pass. But then I think, at other points, we have to differentiate between what's our opinion on what people should do, and be careful not to cross the line to tell them you can't do that, because you can abstain without cause. And it's right. Well, we may all feel that you've abdicated your responsibilities. I just caution us to draw the line as leaders to say, make people feel that they cannot do this, because legally they can. We don't like it. We think it's an abdication. We all have strong opinions on it, but there's a difference between what our opinion is, what people can legally do. I think we have to be careful not to make people believe that they're doing something inappropriate under our rules, the charter, or anything else, because they're not.
And the first paragraph says exactly that. We have no right to say you cannot abstain. It's just, in the Robert's rules, if everyone in this room abstained and I voted yes, it passes. That's not under the city charter.
Right.
So, I've made this point, and I'll make it next week, and I say it out of frustration for my resolution, which I'll talk about now, and in your own committees. And I say again, I know you'll feel very frustrated if the abstentions win on an issue you believe is important and needs to move forward. The second part of that, when I say I, because it was me, who came up with the idea of the Community Service Award, the function of that award was to honor someone or a group or whomever who had added to the quality of life of the community. The focus was the community. And now it's called the Irving Latimer Award, but it's still the same focus. And so I question, one, whether or not any other award that we establish should be whomever, or should be someone who has done something for the community besides whomever. This could be a merchant, maybe the best merchant in the world. I have no idea how he became that one, but he's the best merchant. But he's making lots of money that makes him qualified, or because he has done something outside, sponsors a scholarship, works with a Little League, works with whatever, in addition to being a merchant. So if the merchant improves the quality of life, now that's my opinion. What all I've suggested and have been suggesting is that when the board approves, I'll come back to that, when the board approves the recommendation of a committee, they ought to know why it's being offered and what the focus is. And I firmly believe that it should be something related to the community. So that brings me to second part of that, and that is, I am not at all questioning the intent, the integrity, the purpose, the ideal of the awards that have been coming out of our various committees. I do ask whether or not, I just said it's because it's a really nice person, or because the community has been enhanced by volunteer effort beyond that. That's up to the committee. I cannot decide that. That was never the intent. However, I got to tell you, I am still embarrassed by what happened last May, and I said it then, and I'll say it again now. I believe I had something to do with the creation of that situation. The idea of our sitting in judgment of an individual we don't know in public, saying he should get it, he shouldn't get it. I don't like him. I never liked him. I don't think that's appropriate, and I would probably recommend that we never do that at all again. I do believe that at least the executive committee should know who the person is, and the chairperson should say, we went through this following procedure, and that's how we came up with this person. And that's also public, so that also should not be tearing people apart. Terribly embarrassing. But I think we'd all feel more comfortable, and that was the intent of the resolution, and I will give you examples. The intent of the resolution was that when we sit back and say, congratulations, you won the award, we should know the criteria upon which that award was given. Now, the only example I have at the moment is the minutes of the September meeting of the Veterans Committee. And let me start with, I have nothing but the highest regard and respect for veterans. And so I think it's a wonderful idea to give a Veterans Award. I just don't know why anyone gets it. That's my problem. We are not VFW. We are not giving awards because you were a soldier. We are not giving awards because you were a nurse in combat. We're giving awards, and I go back to, besides being a veteran, you also added to the quality of life of this community. Otherwise, I don't know why we're giving it.
By doing such and such,
By doing such and such. Beyond, you qualified to fit into this category because you're a veteran, but you're picked because you're doing something. Now, I don't know if you pick a veteran because of their military service, the number of ribbons they have on their chest, the number of Purple Hearts, the number of gold clusters, whatever. I'm not in the military, so I'm talking out of my league now. But if I honor Bob as a veteran, how do I know simultaneously I'm not insulting Deb, who they served in the same theater, they served in the same unit? But why Bob and not Deb? We ought to have, so when I say Bob is getting the award because in addition to being a soldier and a veteran, he has done the same thing I said for the Community Service Award, for the Merchant Award. Beyond being a veteran, he's a Little League coach. Beyond being a veteran, he volunteers to work in a hospital. Beyond being a veteran. So that's my issue. My issue is we were giving an award from the community board, not from the committee, from the community board, ought to know why we are giving it. And that criteria I find to be extremely important.
Thank you, Marty.
Until next week. Oh, and I have to say that I'm bringing this back to my LRE on Monday. They will decide what my next step is. We drop it, we change some wording, do we go down with the ship? I won't know that until Monday. And unfortunately, if we decide to do something immediately, then there'll be a resolution that will sneak up on people. But I'm going to give the same kind of speech. I apologize.
Economic Development?
This is,
Your report.
okay.
If you have no report,
I just want to.
if you have no report, then just your next meeting date.
So my next meeting is tomorrow at 7 o'clock. In the office. It's for the first time in a long time, it's going to be a hybrid meeting, so if those are too cold or can't make it, then you can hear it. The main meat and bones of what's going to be discussed is the walkthrough of the Skyline Shopping Center. We want to walk through it, just see the conditions. There have been some concerns from the community, and we want to make sure that everything's up to par, and if we're going to bring any kind of action, we have to see everything firsthand. That is going to happen in January, and I'm going to come to the meeting. Come.
Skyview.
Skyview. What did I say?
Skyline.
I said Skyline?
Yeah.
Okay.
I know what you
Sorry.
meant.
Oh, no, yeah.
Thank you. Any questions on economic development? Parks.
There was no Parks meeting in November due to Thanksgiving. Our next meeting is December 12th, 7 p.m. here, and it will be hybrid.
Thank you. And we're reporting for Ed. He's got several resolutions.
Yes.
Thank you.
Resolutions. We have two renewals. The first one is Claudy's Kitchen, located at 5981 Broadway, for wine, beer, and cider. That was unanimously approved by the committee. The second renewal for liquor, wine, beer, and cider is Santa Fe Grill, located at 6025 Broadway, also unanimously approved by the committee. The next category is new applications. There are two of those. One is liquor, wine, beer, and cider for Food Court 231st, located at 190 West 231st Street. We agreed to sign a 2 a.m. closing agreement, which has been received by the board. This new application was unanimously approved. The second new application is 3611 Grapevine Corp. For a liquor, wine, beer, and cider located at 3611 Riverdale Avenue. They also agreed to sign a 2 a.m. closing agreement, which has been received, unanimously approved. The last category are two requests before the committee for New Year's Eve all-night permit for liquor, wine, beer, and cider. One was Silhouette Restaurant, located at 5666 Broadway. To this application, the NYPD stated there were multiple disturbances or complaints at this establishment. They provided statistical lists of 911 and 311 calls for the last year, and Captain Pierce recommended this business be denied the all-night permit, citing past disturbances. The Public Safety Committee unanimously disproved this application. The last resolution has to do with another New Year's Eve all-night permit. This was Carib, thank you. Okay, Bites Bar and Restaurant, located at 5586 Broadway. They failed to appear before the Public Safety Committee. Now, the NYPD's feeling was that even though they're not aware of prior notable disturbances or complaints at this location, they cited the lack of available offices on New Year's Eve, and therefore, because of concerns of public safety, that they didn't feel that it was warranted to have an all-night permit. And the Public Safety Committee unanimously disapproved this application for that reason. And that's the sixth one. Any questions?
Nope. Any questions? I have just a couple. So it seems that it doesn't, that irrespective of who the merchant is, the NYPD would recommend no, because of the same lack of manpower.
It does appear that way from what's written on this resolution.
Right. Yeah. That causes me concern. It also causes me concern about, the first denial. Are we looking for reasons after?
Well, with the first one, there were many reasons.
Did we have?
I believe they can go to SLA, so I don't know that this is the final.
Right.
It's not the final.
It's not, but I'm saying if we're signing off on it and basing it on the NYPD saying no, but they'll say no to any of them because it doesn't matter how good you are. They'll say we don't have enough manpower. On the first one, did they? Can I finish? I got you.
Sorry.
On the first one, did they give any? I know they gave statistics. Were those of 911 and 311 calls?
Yeah.
Did they give any information as to any tickets that were founded, any arrests that were made and prosecuted?
Well, they said
any determinations to any of these things?
Robbery, stabbing, firearm, and harassment.
Right, but I'm saying that you know, people call 911, people call 311, you know, often as I do. You know, I call 311 a lot. But were there any findings that anybody has made against them? Did the SLA have, you know, have a hearing and fine them, or, just, you know, some court say, you know, you...
Well, one of the things that the committee discussed was the fact that when we have issues and problems, we cannot wait until an establishment is up for renewal or makes a request. We have to do it on an ongoing, because otherwise SLA doesn't have adequate time to go and check anything out. So our scheduling, Joy, am I correct? Mary Ellen?
To Sergio's point, there have been no findings, so there's
Okay.
nothing confirmed. These are just 911 and 311.
So Ramdot and Oscar and Mary Ellen, I believe that you guys had your hands up in that order.
I have a question. I think correct me if I'm wrong, my recollection from last year, we also denied this permit.
Silhouette, correct.
For Silhouette.
Mm-hmm.
And then I do share the same concern about Caribe as do with Sergio. And that was just like my two things.
Thank you, and Oscar and Mary Ellen.
Well,
Definitely.
what I'll say about Silhouette, which is now named Playoff, the problem, yeah. So, personally speaking, I've seen firsthand on multiple occasions, fights, stabbings, and all that in front of that place, me being there.
Which place?
Silhouette.
Silhouette.
Now, Playoffs, it's on 234th where Staples at.
The Staples Mall.
Next to the veterinary shop. Yeah. So I've seen this firsthand. Now, on the other hand, denying, based on manpower, although it may seem unfair based on the statistics, for the good of the community, if you're really thinking, and that's what we're thinking of, it makes sense. Because what you don't want to do is allow something and then a situation happens and then the 50th looks bad. So, it's just a comment, but also, like, I understand we're going for fair and findings, but if we're gonna go that route, let's really dig in and see if there's actually no findings or if there is.
Mary Ellen, you had...
I remember in a few years with, that same place, people have been robbed of their jewelry.
Wait, are you talking about the first, or the
Which
second?
place? There's two places.
Silhouette, yeah, say Silhouette,
Yeah,
the new, I
yeah.
forget the new name. Robbed of their jewelry, the minute they come out, they were been robbed and held up. And we don't want this, all these complaints that happen I mean, it wasn't found that they were robbed and stabbed and whatever, but we don't want this to escalate to somebody actually gets killed. You know, we wanna get to that point, so we wanna stop it before it gets to that crazy point, you know? It's our community, we don't want the reputation of, it's changed so much here, people get robbed, stabbed, killed during a net. What should be a good festive thing, New Year's Eve, and turn it into something like that.
Well, friends of mine were put in the hospital right outside of that. I saw it myself, so.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other comments or questions for public safety?
I will say that the police they are low on resources, and they're also pulled to other things, you know, the ball coming down. In other words, they know that they're low, so they're anticipating that, they're preempting, and I get that. And I think that's what they're trying to say.
Any other questions or comments for public safety? Thank you very much for that report.
Okay, there was a resolution for traffic and transportation for Tin Marin, the dining out New York City sidewalk application. There was discussion, people were concerned about the garbage cans being next to where people park, that they couldn't walk on the sidewalk, not enough room. It was unanimously approved with the conditions of to move those garbage cans and make sure that people can walk past safely. They did say that they're buying the bookstore next door, they're taking over the bookstore next door. So I already saw that they did move those garbage, they're already gone. They're gonna be storing more stuff while they're taking over. So there should have to be.
So the bookstore's blocking everybody now.
Right, exactly. You just trip over the books, all the bookworms are in the way.
And they moved all the garbage stuff there, okay.
And the next meeting is December 16th.
Thank you very much, Mary Ellen. Any questions, for TNT? Comments? No, very thoughtful resolution, by the way, with the commission. Thank you guys for working on that. Ramdot, youth,
Youth,
the youth.
next meeting is September 16th. I do want to thank publicly Caesar, for holding down the fort. I was dealing with a family emergency, so that took me away from the meeting, and he did a really good job. And we're deciding if we want to have a January meeting, and right now we're working on a youth handbook. So exciting things coming out of youth.
Thank you.
That's it.
Any questions for youth? Okay, special committee on the Greenway.
No meeting, none scheduled. There will be one, but I don't know when yet.
Okay. SCREE, anybody from SCREE here? No. And then the only other special committee is veterans, correct? Okay. So, all right, so as you know, we do have we do plan to have a couple of people propose for the Veterans Award. A couple of local people. There is something brewing. The Assemblymember Dinowitz's office referred to us a gentleman who's trying to get recognition for a Vietnam veteran, someone who was killed in Vietnam, who's from the neighborhood. We're trying to get a plaque actually put in Memorial Grove. Parks and the Antiquities Department has been vehemently against any new plaques. So it'll be an interesting fight. We have raised this issue before, and Parks and the Antiquities, I think it's the Antiquities Department.
Art and Antiquities,
Art and Antiquities, I knew Antiquities. Yeah, I knew, yes, like Indiana Jones thing. Antiquities is in there, and they were absolutely no, and the reason they gave was that they're afraid that they'll offend someone else. I thought that to be ironic as a pretty cowardly reason to not recognize someone who's in the military. But we will take another run at it. I think this is a good opportunity, especially to honor someone who's local, who's born and raised in the neighborhood. So it's brewing, just so that everybody knows, and we'll let our Parks Committee know about that's going on. And we're going to try and squeeze a meeting in January, hopefully the 23rd. And yes.
Yeah, the requester on that, was that Steve Padillas by chance?
I believe so.
Okay, the reason why I ask is he got Parks to create a Vietnam era plaque about 4 or 5 years ago. So it's not that they've been completely ignored, and this individual, who I have no idea, is ignored. So it's just something to contemplate when, the Antiquities people are concerned about individuals, whatever. The Vietnam era was specifically recognized.
And yes, there is a general plaque. I think what some people, including the proponent of this and some other people saying is that perhaps we need to look at having additional actual plaques for individuals. But that's an ongoing conversation. It's an uphill battle at this point. Any other questions? Seeing that, any old business? Farrah's got old business.
It's not old, it's really, I just want to remind everyone to please look at this January calendar, because I just heard 2 people who want this January 23rd date. So just let me know immediately if you're having a meeting, not having a meeting, what date you want.
So we can resolve the calendar for
January. Thank you.
This committee is flexible, so if somebody else really needs it, and somebody's not going to have, if something opens up, then let us know. Yes, please, take a look at the calendar, and if you're not going to use your meeting date, and you know in advance, let the office know, because there are special committees who are looking for meeting dates who don't have regular, it's a little self-serving, yes, I'm speaking now, about my committee, and a couple others that don't have regular meeting days of the month. And when they open up, Farrah will call up and say, hey, we have this Thursday open a few weeks. Do you want that? And that's how we get our meeting dates not to conflict with anybody else. So please, if you're not going to have a meeting, you're not going to have a meeting, you looked at the calendar, the holidays, right, the religious observances, and you're not going to have it that month. It just makes sense to have it the next month. Great. Just let everybody know, let Farrah know, so we can all benefit from the open night. All right. Any new business that we have not discussed? Seeing none, all right, so we'll, Mary Ellen made a motion, Rhonda seconds, all right, and we are adjourned. I'll take that as a unanimous